In 2023, the general election in Nigeria was conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, and after that, the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was declared by the INEC as the winner of that election. An election that was marred with a lot of irregularities, with the opposition approaching the court all the way to the Supreme Court, and we saw the kangaroo judgment that was given from the court, which made us believe that the last hope of the common man is now in the pockets of some few political elites.
Anarchy looms. Where? In Nigeria.
This is the reason why many, especially the vice presidential candidate of Labour Party, Dati Ahmed, said so many things as to the illegality of the president and that the constitution of Nigeria has been violated, and going forward we will be seeing a lot of this illegality.
What is facing Nigeria now? Nigeria is officially in a state of constitutional crisis. We are not realizing that yet.
What do you mean by that?
A certificate of return has been issued to a so-called president-elect. Unconstitutional. Certificate of return issued to Alhaji Tinubu is a dud certificate. It is one certificate that breaches the provisions of Section 134. Therefore, the requirements to be declared as president-elect have not been met by Tinubu Shetima ticket.
Now, 2 years down the line, we have seen now the unilateral decision of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to remove an elected governor, the governor of Rivers State, Similare Fubara, from the office, which is very, very unconstitutional, and it is an impeachable offense. But now, a Senate that is swimming in sexual scandal, and the House of Rep that are donating over 700 million naira for charity to the president, will not have the balls to pull the trigger of impeachment procedures against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. However, the presidential candidate of Labour Party, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, has reacted in a strong term against the decision of Mr. President, alongside the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nesri Rufai, who just decamped from APC to SDP. Remember that there is an alliance as we speak for the opposition to come together ahead of 2027 to make sure that this illegitimacy is being removed at all levels in Nigeria come 2027. According to Mr. Peter Obi, he said, and I quote, "The unilateral decision of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to remove Governor Similare Fubara of Rivers State from office is not only unconstitutional, but also reckless. It has plunged us back into a state of lawlessness, hugely undoing the progress we have made in these 26 years of democratic journey. By disregarding the rule of law, the president has shown a dangerous willingness to trample on democracy." The declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State is not just reckless, it is a clear attempt to return us to a state of nature and tightening its grip on power at all costs. It is a degrading backdoor imposition of martial law on a strategic part of the federation with all the imputed negativities. The political situation on the ground in Rivers does not justify such an extreme measure, and it is also biased interpretation of Section 3051 of the 1998 Constitution as amended. The state of emergency does not mean an elected governor can be removed unilaterally. This decision does not align with democratic norms or good governance. Instead, it appears to be a predominant action serving specific interests rather than the collective good people of Rivers State. These actions constitute an unconstitutional overreach, setting a dangerous precedent that threatens democracy, the rule of law, and the separation of power. And if not unchecked, it could foster a culture of impunity. Having already been gripping with non-adhering to electoral qualification rules and massive rigging, adding arbitrary removal of elected officers, which will push us to a state of nature and anarchy.
Anarchy looms. Where? In Nigeria.
I appeal to the National Assembly and all stakeholders not to allow this to stand, as it only deepens the culture of impunity and bringing already threatening our democracy. A new Nigeria is possible. That is from His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi. Now, with all of this being said by Mr. Peter Obi, remember that Kenneth Okonkwo once said,
Anarchy looms. Where? In Nigeria. Nigeria is not Lagos where you sit down and you decree things and you expect it to work that way. You don't compare gold with carrot.
and the anarchy that is about to let loose on Nigerians and the whole country is something that is going to be orchestrated by the power that bill by themselves. According to the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Rufai, he said, and I quote, Nigerian update, the Tinubu-led federal government should restore the elected officer in Rivers State. And according to him, he said that there are things that are so clearly wrong that the justification summoned in the defense of failed facts. The decision of Mr. President to suspend the elected officer of the Rivers State government is one of those. Our country constitution does not support it precisely because it is dangerous to our system of democracy. Federalism, for an elected president to assume and exercise power to suspend elected officials at the state level. The responsibility of the president are heavily and extensively, but they are constrained by the constitution and the law, and certainly do not include firing persons who are elected by the people. Okay. Now, he went further to say that the security issues cited in the presidential speech surely deserve the most serious attention and sustained efforts to contain the threats and preserve the vital national infrastructure. That is a duty that we ought to vigorously support the security agency to successfully discharge. A state of emergency could surely have been proclaimed to grant the relevant security agency the extraordinary power and necessary resources to enable them to address the problem. Extending the provision of such an emergency regime to include the dismantling of democratic structure is a wanton aggression against democratic tenets and the rule of law. The Supreme Court has conclusively declared the suspension of elected officers unlawful in the Dari versus Attorney General of the Federation. This was in 2004. Remember the Obasanjo scenario that time. It is my view that Mr. President should review this decision and return to the path of constitutionalism and the rule of law. As an opposition figure, Senator Bola Tinubu had made his voice heard against the decision of the then President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to declare a state of emergency in the northeast, even when that decision did not extend to the suspension of the elected officials and institutions. A similar reconsideration is warranted in the case to curtail the damage done to the people of Rivers State and restore the federal government to compel with what? The Constitution. Let us not keep silent with why the slippery slope of replicating the event of emergency rule in the old western region in 1962 unfold before our very eyes. I appeal to our patriots and voice of reason to join in calling an end to this gross violation of the Constitution and disrespect for the rule of law. Signed by Malam Nasri Rufai, CON. Okay. Which of these current political, opposition leader could actually call for the impeachment of Mr. President for violating the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? None of them have the balls, even including Peter Obi and even Rufai. None of them have the balls. If they do have that consciousness and boldness, they should, have a joint press conference or even call the National Assembly for as a matter of urgency, start the procedure for impeachment of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is, if he failed to retrieve his steps. We all saw yesterday where the Senate had to step down the motion for the consideration of the state of emergency in Rivers State until 3 p.m., of which the reason for that was not known. And between that time and the 3 p.m., the president has already sworn in the sole administrator of Rivers State. Now you see, so this thing may not even go through any National Assembly abracadabra. Today is the last day according to the constitutional provision. They have 2 days to be confirmed. So by today, the end of today, if the National Assembly fail to confirm the removal of Similaya Fubara as well as the state of emergency declared in Rivers State, and the sole administration resume its office and continue, then it has now become necessary for every Nigerian now to know and understand that the Constitution of Nigeria has now henceforth been suspended by a democratically claim elected president Bola Ahmed Tinubu. While I use the word claim, it was because it was disputed at the court, and based on the judgment of the court, which is not accepted by the majority of Nigerians, many still have this opinion that he remained not an elected president by Nigerians, that he is selected by the Independent National Electoral Commission as well as the Power that Bill and the Supreme Court. We have seen, the judicial system, the abracadabra that has been happening there since Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office. So what is the way forward in all of this? It's just for the Nigerians people to understand the fact that they no longer have a constitution. If at the end of today, the president, the National Assembly, fail to remove or the National Assembly confirm this behavior of Mr. President, then it shows that the institution in Nigeria is starting to write home about. But if they don't even confirm or remove that decision, then it shows that we are now in a democratically bought military regime, but led by a civilian. This was what Bola Ahmed Tinubu fought in the 90s against Abacha. Many call him the Abacha in Agbada. However, the sole aim of everything that everyone should be doing as of now is to make sure that the momentum continue to mount on Mr. President to return the country back to constitutionalism. What do you make of all of this? Let's remain civil in the comment section, but share this video to reach a larger audience. Thank you for watching.